Hello everyone, it is the end of the month and it is the time when we're going to do a little bit of a monthly roundup of all the things that I have enjoyed throughout this month or not enjoyed throughout this month, and we're also going to talk about a few empties. At first I thought we should breeze right through this video because I haven't really worn that much makeup in the month of January, being sick throughout the most of it. But then I'm looking at the amount of products here in front of me and I'm a little bit scared about the length of this video. I think partially because I didn't really do a roundup and empties in December, if I'm not mistaken. So there are actually quite a few products here that I've already had since the month of December, and I've been testing out a bit more extensively throughout that month, and I have thoughts that I would like to share with you. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, as usual, start with the non-makeup category. For my birthday I also wanted to gift myself another piece of jewelry from that Etsy brand that I have talked about before. I think they're called Kalypso Jewelry, and I found them on Etsy because they have the most interesting ear climbers. And I had been eyeing these I think they're called ear pockets or ear jackets, I can't remember. Let me show you one of the earrings just so you get an idea of what these are. So they look like this, and the idea is that the little leaf element will come behind your earlobe, and the little pearly part obviously on the front. These are gorgeous, they are so beautiful, and they're again so interesting and so unique. And together with these I had actually also ordered a ring. I no longer have the ring because I had to pass it along to a friend. I will put a picture of it somewhere next to me so that you can see. It was such a beautiful ring, but unfortunately I ordered it in the wrong size. I more or less know what my size is when it comes to my ring finger, but that specific shape of ring I thought would look beautiful on this finger. How is that one called? The index finger? The one where you point with. And I measured and I measured and I thought that I had narrowed it down to my size, but unfortunately it was just slightly too big, and I tried to wear it, but I would just constantly be aware of the fact that I have to fiddle with it so that it doesn't fall off of my hand. So unfortunately I had to give that ring away, but it was still a really beautiful ring. Now let's talk about a bunch of makeup. I'm going to start off with something that I purchased on a whim, totally by chance. I found it on Vinted, and I still cannot believe my luck that I found it, because I had been lusting after the Ultrasuede Brown kit from McGrath Labs ever since Claudia, aka BOB Mindset, here on YouTube talked about the black pigment that came with this set. So I completely by accident found it new on Vinted, and I didn't even think twice. I purchased it immediately. It came here. I've done a video with it, which I can link somewhere in the cards for you so that you can watch it if you're interested in these eyeshadows. But I love this kit. I adore it. I'm so happy that I bought it because I've been getting so much use out of it. The first thing I want to talk about is the actual Ultrasuede Brown pigment. And I know what you're thinking. I can hear you. You're like, oh, but it's just a brown eyeshadow. How exciting is that? It is a brown eyeshadow with a very unique goldenish green undertone to it, a bronzy goldenish green undertone to it, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Now I will talk about an eyeshadow later that I actually feel is a 2.0 version of this eyeshadow, but nonetheless I love this eyeshadow. It makes for a beautiful one and done look. The next thing I want to mention really quickly in passing, because it's something that we all have in our collections, is the Astral White pigment, which was originally released in this kit but is now present in her Subliminal palette. I've actually been using this quite a lot because now that it's just in a drawer here next to me and I don't have to reach for the Subliminal palette specifically, every now and then I'll be like, I want a little bit of blue sparkle on, so I will grab for my single pigment. So I'm actually really happy to have this one outside of the context of a palette. But my two absolute favorites from this, actually there are two products that I'm not really going to mention too much, because one I have not used. It is this thick black jumbo pencil kind of thing, and the eye gloss, which I sent to one of you. So the two that I want to talk about more specifically that I am utterly in love with are the Mercury eyeshadow and Dark Matter pigment. Let me open them up so that I can show you a little bit better. First, let's talk about the Mercury pigment. This is chef's kiss does not even begin to describe it. This is a Michelin star rated eyeshadow, and not just 1 star. I would give this one more stars. It is so good. First of all, the texture of this eyeshadow cannot be beat. I want Pat McGrath to give me more eyeshadows in this texture. This is soft, it is smooth, it is gorgeous, it is sparkly. Oh, I have no words for the actual like texture of this eyeshadow, but also the tone. It is such a unique, like silvery, greeny taupe. Can't really describe it. I have loved using this eyeshadow. One of my favorite things to do actually is grab a product that I'm going to talk about in a bit, the signature quad from Victoria Beckham, just to put a little bit of like brown beige to my crease, and then I will go with my dark matter pigment, which is the next thing I want to talk about, and finally I will go with Mercury on my lids, and then depending on what I'm wearing, I may pop a little bit of the Astral White pigment, or I may just leave it at that. But now let's talk about the dark matter pigment. This is my favorite black eyeshadow in the whole wide world. I have never loved the black eyeshadow more than I love this. This is the same kind of like experience and texture that you would have from the dark brown eyeshadow that I can never shut up about in the Guerlain Ombre G Quad. It's that like baked gelée, slightly latexy. This is not as latexy, this is much more like that classic baked formula, but it is the type of eyeshadow that you can sheer out, you can build up, and it looks glossy and stunning on your eyes, and there's no fallout. There's essentially zero fallout. And there is something very special also about this specific pigment, because is it the most black eyeshadow that you're going to find out there? No. Is this what I'm looking for? Also no. But it has a little bit of a golden sheen to it. It has a little bit of a golden sheen to it. I don't know whether you will be able to appreciate it from a swatch, but when I shift here in the light, you can see that as you blend it out, it reveals this like slightly golden sheen to it, which fits very nicely with the Mercury pigment. I have loved using it to like deepen out outer corners if I'm doing something a little smokier, or just like put it a little bit as like a smoking out effect, just smudged on my lashes, or actually as a little eyeliner, like a little smoky eyeliner. I adore this eyeshadow. With that said though, I know that most of you, unless you've been avid Pat McGrath fans since the release of the brand in 2015 or 16, it's probably going to be almost impossible for you to find the dark matter pigment. So the closest thing that I can recommend is Lamp Black from Lisa Eldridge. I think Lamp Black probably comes about 90% in the vicinity of this dark matter pigment, but I still like the dark matter pigment a little bit more. I love the eyeshadow from Lisa Eldridge. I think it is, again, a stellar black eyeshadow, but there is just something about the texture of this eyeshadow that wins anytime. Purchasing this kit was a very spontaneous idea, but probably one of my like best, not well thought throughout makeup purchases of all time. Actually, hold on that thought. Before we move into talking about the rest of the makeup, there is a comparison that I had promised you, and I don't want to forget about it, so I'm going to do it now. I think a lot of you were curious to compare the shade Mercury to this shadow over here in the Decadence palette, which has again these like slightly greenish tones to it, but in my opinion they're two very different eyeshadows. First of all, the texture is completely incomparable because one is baked and one is just a straight up metallic, but I also think they're just different eyeshadows. So this is the one from Decadence, and I think it is a much more green eyeshadow, whereas Mercury is one of those very hard to describe shades. Is it a silver? Is it a taupe? Is it a slightly greenish taupe? Who is to say? But I just wanted to swatch them next to each other for you so that you can see how different they are. I think this shade from the Decadence palette is stunning, but I think Mercury really holds its own as a very unique type of eyeshadow. So if in case you were interested in that comparison, there you go. They are very different. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is my little purchase, well, not little at all, from the Victoria Beckham beauty website. I finally tried Victoria Beckham's brand and I have some thoughts. First of all, I want to give her packaging. 10 out of 10, nobody does luxury packaging better than Miss Posh Spice, because her packaging is truly the epitome of luxury, something that you want to keep to like give away to your children and grandchildren because it is that precious. This is gorgeous. The first thing I want to mention is a product that I really like, which is her bronzer brick. The one that I have is in the shade 2, and it comes with 2 shades, a little bit of a lighter contour type shade and a bit like bronzier, warmer, but at the same time neutral shade. And what I want to say about this specific product is that I love it because it is probably the most neutral bronzer that I have in my collection. Nothing is as neutral leaning as this is. The formula is also really nice. It's this very lightweight, very blendable, very like subtle and buildable powder formula. I don't know that the formula is really the special thing about this. I think it's the packaging and the tone of this specific shade of bronzer. And also, if someone came to attack me in my house, I could smack them on the head with it and probably cause a concussion. So 2 in 1. Alright, now let's talk about the most boring thing out of this whole purchase, and probably my favorite thing out of this purchase, which is the little signature eye color quad that I bought from her, which contains the most boring selection of like matte beige brown eyeshadows. I bought this for one purpose and one alone. Well, actually 2. I wanted something beautiful to look at when I open my drawer and feel compelled to take out of it. And I wanted to have really good quality browns of different depths that I can reach for if I'm in a hurry and I just want to put something nice on my lids but surround it with brown mattes. And this executes its purpose perfectly and some more. I have used it so much and I have loved it so much. And can I tell you a little thing that's probably going to sound really, you know, blasphemous? I think I may be okay with the fact that my Beckham statuesque eyeshadow was cancelled, because now that I have this in my collection, I think I can easily phase out statuesque once statuesque is finished. If you were like, what the hell are you talking about? Statuesque is this single eyeshadow from Pat McGrath Labs, which I love using just when I want something like easy through my crease that I don't want to like bother pulling out the palette for. And I love statuesque, but this is superior because this offers me 2 different tones of like beige. One is a little bit more like a brown beige, the other one is more like a peachy beige, but I also get the depth. And I love the option of adding depth, and not just depth, but like a varying gradation of depth. If I want something a little bit of a lighter brown, I can go with this one. I can also mix this one with this one if I want to have the crease to be a little bit more intense. And if I want to smoke out the liner or really intensify my outer corner, I can always go in with the deep brown shade. The formula is without a doubt really excellent quality, blends out, has that like smoothing effect on the lid, but I've just loved using this so much that it has turned into my absolute favorite purchase that I made with that Victoria Beckham order. And I think that is a huge surprise to me because I didn't really expect the most pragmatic and boring thing out of the whole, you know, order to turn into my favorite. Okay, the next product I want to talk about is the shade Mink, which is one of her lid lustres. And I have thoughts about this. I really like this, but I want to say that there is something very like unique about this formula, in the sense that it is probably one of the thickest cream pot eyeshadow formulas that I have come across, and I think you need to be very careful with how you apply this. I really love these like minky, taupey kind of shades. I love the Divine Mink from Pat McGrath, and I really love this one, but look, I just picked it up on my finger and it is so thick. And I think most people would, you know, intuitively want to apply something like this with their fingers, and I think this is where they would go wrong. I think this product works much better if you apply it with a brush, and not just any brush, but I think if you apply it with a somewhat fluffier brush, because what happens when you apply it with a somewhat fluffier brush is like you pick up a few flakes and then you can start with like a very sheer layer of this and you can build it up as you go, but you're not going to start off with something that is incredibly thick looking on your lids. This formula, I think works best applied with a somewhat fluffier brush, and then it works beautifully. Then I really love it. In that way it works really beautifully as a one and done shade, because it has that deeper like brown base to it, and it is loaded with those silvery sparkles. So a shade like this, the more you buff out, the more you're going to get, you know, that like wet lid effect without the base overpowering too much. But if you like slightly pack it on, you're going to get a bit more of the base. So what happens is when you have an eyeshadow like this and you apply it as a one and done on your eyelids, you're going to turn your head, and in your outer corner you're going to probably mostly see the deep brown, but on your lids you're going to catch a lot of light and you're going to see that beautiful like wet lid effect. I will say the sparkle on this is a little bit underwhelming. I was expecting a bit more hourglass scattered light, Pat McGrath astral type of sparkle, and this is not that level of sparkle. It is a little bit more subtle. But I think it's really beautiful once you have figured out what the best way to use these eyeshadows is. At least in my experience, this works best with a fluffy brush. And last but not least, we have the two products that I am either lukewarm about or I straight up don't like. The product that I'm a little bit lukewarm about is the Posh Spice, the Cheeky Posh blush in the shade Playground. Don't get me wrong, the blush is actually beautiful. It is a gorgeous, neutral, peachy, cinnamony, brick type of shade. It is the absolute perfect blush for me. But maybe I have a little bit of blush fatigue lately, because I haven't really felt super excited about this blush. I like it just fine, I use it, I enjoy the formula, I enjoy the color, but I think I'm suffering from a little bit of blush fatigue, and I'm just finding it difficult to get excited about the blush. So maybe in the future I will feel differently about it, but so far I've used it a couple of times and I have enjoyed it, but I haven't really felt that like jolt of joy that I have felt with the other three products that I just talked about. And finally, I'm going to talk about the product that I straight up don't like and I actually want to declutter, and that is the lipstick. So I bought one of her Posh lipsticks in the shade Twist. And I don't like this at all. First of all, there is so little color to this that I feel like you're not really getting anything but your lips with a little bit of a sheen on them. But what is worse, this lipstick is an offender in the category of it has a lot of white pigment, so it forms that like white crusty line on the inner rim of my lips, and that is an unforgivable sin, a crime. We're not going to get along, you need to be out of my life. And unfortunately, this lipstick does that quite badly. It's been a while since I have bought like a neutral nude type of lipstick, which leaves such a disgusting crusty line on the inner portion of my lips, and this one unfortunately does. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. Am I going to try to apply it as like a little bit of a sheen over top of like deeper lipsticks, or am I straight up going to declutter it? I have not decided on that yet, but I don't like this lipstick. And I also don't know that I would recommend trying any of the other shades, because I get the feeling these are so sheer that all you're going to see is your own lip color with the tiniest hint of something else, and they're too expensive for that. I think for that kind of money you should better buy a Pat McGrath lipstick or a Lisa Eldridge lipstick or another luxury brand lipstick that will just give you a bit more. Okay, let's talk about the two queens from the Star Wars collection. I unfortunately never got the Falcon Noir eyeshadow because my order shipped out too late and they had probably put my eyeshadow by mistake, which they apparently have been doing left and right, into someone else's box. So I never saw that pigment, and I'm a little bit bummed out about that because I was looking forward to trying the formula, but at the same time I feel like these are probably going to come back in the permanent range at some point, so I'll get my chance later. What I think I am very happy that I did and I didn't miss the chance to get are these two queens, because I believe now all of them may have been sold out and I don't think you can find these anymore. And based on how the previous time it went with the Star Wars collection, I think these truly are just gone. But I'm really happy that I bought them. Let's talk about the one that I think is my favorite. Oh, is that the case? You know what? I don't think this one is my favorite. I think I like both of them so much. First of all, I love the quint format, and I love the new formula that she's introduced with the quint format. Now, when it comes to this quint, I love all the 5 shades that are in here. The only one that I haven't used yet is the purple, by the way, so I can't really speak to the quality of that one, but honestly it looks like a lot of other purples in Pat McGrath's collection, so I don't expect to have like deep feelings for it or anything. The raspberry shade is the one that I tried in my previous video, and the 3 shades that I like the most out of this quint are these 3 over here. I love bright blues. I think they make beautiful like inner pops of color, but I want to talk specifically about these 2 shades. First of all, Pat has finally given us a lime green. How amazing is that? And it's not just any lime green, it is a beautiful, metallic, shiny, delicious lime green. Okay, I just realized that the sun came out with a vengeance and you were probably not seeing things, but look how gorgeous this is. But what's more, this quint contains what I think is the Ultrasuede Brown pigment 2.0, because I think the base color of this eyeshadow here, this is the shade Bronze Circuit. I think the base of this eyeshadow is very similar to the Ultrasuede Brown pigment that was in that kit, but it comes with the added bonus of sparkle, which makes it more complex and more interesting. And I adore this eyeshadow. This is one of my new favorite like neutral bronzy eyeshadows in my collection. I cannot get enough of it, and especially doing a look with these 2 is just absolute perfection. Now the other quint, the mini Midnight Sun one, I know that a lot of people were disappointed that this is essentially the Midnight Sun palette but in like an edited format. I can't quite agree that it's the Midnight Sun palette. Yes, there are certain similarities such as these 2 shades, but the rest of the shades are honestly quite different. And I do really like this shade. I think this shade is so spectacular. It is, I don't know, it's like you're putting lava on your eyelids. I wore it a couple of days ago and honestly I was mesmerized by the look. I still have not tried Problem Child over here, this very flaky purple. I think that we should better try this together on camera. But what I want to specifically mention is once again the frigging neutral shades. They're so pretty. So we have this one here and this slightly lighter one over here, and I've worn both of them and I have enjoyed both of them so much because they're again so interesting and so sparkly and so complex, and you put them on your lids, you stand in artificial lighting and you are absolutely mesmerized by what's going on your lids. I think this one is a little bit sparklier than this one, so I tend to like this one a little bit better, but I just love that she has given us these really interesting neutral shades in that quint formula. So personally, I am very happy that I picked up these quints. Do I regret not picking up the golden one? I go a bit back and forth on that, because sometimes I will watch someone's video and I'll be like, okay, I'm really happy that I didn't get this because honestly it's not that special. Other times I will watch a video and I'll be like, oh damn, I wish I had gotten the set of 3 when I had the chance. Although honestly that would have been no guarantee that I would have actually gotten the golden one, because I think a lot of people ordered that trio of the 3 quints and they're missing something, either Divine Droid or the golden one. So, you know, there was no guarantee that I was ever going to get it anyway. But I'm really happy that I have these 2 and I really enjoy using them. I also want to very quickly mention the Lunar New Year collection from Pat McGrath Labs. It is actually what I'm wearing on my lips and on my eyes right now. I don't want to talk about it too much because you have just seen a video where I talked about it very, very extensively. But basically I got the Voyeuristic Vixen quad that comes with the limited edition, you know, red lacquer packaging. The conclusion from that video in a nutshell was that this is essentially the same as the old Voyeuristic Vixen quad, except for this one eyeshadow here, which is a completely different tone according to me. I actually really like this. I think it's beautiful. I love looking at the red lacquer packaging, but I already have the Voyeuristic Vixen quad, so I can't really say that I'm like, oh, so excited for this eyeshadow palette. I just love having it in the limited edition packaging. But what I am really, really excited about is the lipstick that came with this collection, because it is a gorgeous, interesting shade of red that comes in the absolutely most mesmerizing packaging ever. I will show you again, even though I showed you in my previous video, how the bullet looks like, because it is a freaking piece of art. This belongs next to the frigging Mona Lisa, at the Louvre. Okay, it is so gorgeous. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about this collection because, like I mentioned before, I just did a video on it. Love both of these. Now, before I move into the empties, I want to talk about a product that is not really makeup, but I am very intrigued about, and I wanted to mention it. I cannot tell you whether it works, yes or no, because I just started using it about a week ago. But I ordered this Glow For It Lash Growth Serum. I saw Charlotte Holdcroft mention this and I was super intrigued because I have been really intrigued by lash serums for years now, but I never dared to order one of the lash serums that actually contain like the hormones, the prostaglandins, because I was always afraid of the side effects and like losing my eyelashes and then falling off, or like changing the color of my iris or something. I was just always a little bit scared of those, so I never dared to try them, even though I was always really impressed by seeing people who use them and the way their lashes look. And instead I was always, you know, on and off using a little bit of like castor oil or coconut oil to like just put into my lashes to better clean them off from mascara residue, but also to, you know, nourish them a little bit. And then Charlotte mentioned this product, which is essentially a lash growth serum, but without the prostaglandins in it. So it contains a bunch of like different oils, it contains biotin, and just a bunch of goodies that are supposed to stimulate the growth of your lashes without the hormonal part. So I was really, really intrigued. I think the idea with this product is that you're supposed to use it for at least 12 weeks to see results. And as I said, I've only used it for 1 week, so I can't really say anything at the moment. I will report back as time goes on. Let me just quickly show you Mona before we move on. Look at this beautiful stracciatella. Isn't she the cutest? Alright, you guys, I just have a couple of empties to talk about, and I'm going to try to breeze through them very quickly because I talked about, I think, most of these before. First, I want to talk about my cleansers from Paula's Choice. I always have 2 cleansers in my bathroom. One is the soft cleaning cleanser and the other one is the perfectly balanced foaming cleanser. This is my morning cleanser and this is my evening cleanser. The idea being that this is a little bit gentler on the skin and it's not as... I don't really find this one to be drying, but because I wash my face twice a day, I don't really want to use something that is a little bit more hardcore. And because in the morning, really the only thing I need to take off is a little bit of like residue from my skincare and a little bit of oils, and I want to be gentle on my face, I always use this one. This is a very gentle cleanser. This one is a foaming cleanser, and because of that I always just, at least in my head, feel like I'm washing my face better. And I really love using this in the evening when I do actually have a little bit more like makeup residue and, you know, dirt from outside to get off my face. So these are staples. I've already repurchased this and I'm already using them. Another staple is my Essential Glow Moisturizer with SPF 30. I've talked about this moisturizer plenty of times before. It is the only like daily moisturizer that I have been using in the past, I want to say at least 3 years. And this is a little mini that I think I got as a gift with purchase at some point and I saved to use for when I'm traveling. And since I'm not really going to be traveling in the next couple of months, I figured it's best to finish this one up. And I did. I love it. This is my favorite moisturizer because it serves also a little bit as a primer for makeup. I don't really know how to explain it, but aside from the fact that it gives me SPF protection and a little bit of glow, it also, I feel like, blurs a little bit my skin. So I love it because it's kind of like a 2-in-1 for me. I don't know that it's going to be for everyone because it has a little bit of like thickness to it, and it gives you a little bit of glow to the face. So if you don't like these kind of primers that are a little bit heavier duty, you're probably not going to enjoy this, but it's my favorite and I love it. The next one is a little mini and gift with purchase again that I got from the Anti-Aging Clear Skin Hydrator with niacinamide and vitamin C. This was very pleasant. I would definitely consider purchasing a full size of it because it was very lightweight, and it contains two of my favorite vitamins, vitamin B and vitamin C. So yeah, I'm happy that I got the chance to try this, and I think that I would consider purchasing a full size of it at some point when I'm finished with my current moisturizers. And last but not least, something that is not completely an empty yet, but it's almost finished and I had to cut out the packaging anyway, so I wanted to show you, is my MAC 24 Extend Eye Base Primer. I always have to cut open the packaging of this to get everything out of it, and I always have it in like a little jar, and I just wanted to show you, and I've already used it quite a few times. Look how much product is still left in here. I don't know whether I'm an idiot who doesn't know how to squeeze things out of a squeezy tube, but for me, these types of packaging always retain so much back that I have to cut them open and get the rest of the product out. Now, I want to talk about this specifically because it's been my favorite eyeshadow primer for years, but like in the past year, something's going on with this primer or something's going on with my eyelids, but this has started to perform very inconsistently in like the long range hours. It does the job just fine to keep my eyeshadow in place for like 8 to 10 hours, but I wear my makeup sometimes for longer than 12 hours, and I recall never having to worry about my eyeshadow creasing. And lately, I've had very inconsistent results with this primer. Most of the time, I will apply it and it will be fine, but then every now and then I will apply it and my eyeshadow is going to start creasing after 8 hours, and I will be like, what the hell is going on? And I don't know whether they've changed anything about this or whether my eyelids have changed and have become more oily, but I have the feeling that I have to apply more now in order to get my eyeshadow to stay longer. So because of that, I've actually purchased 2 other primers to try. I'm a little bit scared because I haven't had to deal with creasing eyeshadow in a really long time, and I'm really scared how these 2 other primers are going to work. But one is the Inglot one, the other one is the Urban Decay Primer Portion. They're both supposedly like solid primers, and I will be especially glad if the Inglot one works for me because it is significantly cheaper compared to both the MAC one and the Urban Decay one. I've rambled now for long enough for this monthly roundup and empties. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts about the products that I talked about. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!